before you jumped on is with Bold Pivot starting this week, I'm really curious to see how our attendance goes. We've been averaging somewhere between 50 and 60 and as high as 160, but we'll see.
Cool.
We'll see. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. I have, you'll understand why later, but I have plans today and where Ryan is drawing on my face with Sharpie. We're doing a quarantine challenge.
A that's like semi-permanent.
I do.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I got a box of them. We're ready.
Oh my goodness.
We have two ridiculous ideas to do and we'll see how they all go.
Are you recording that? I would love to see.
We're going to record it, but I was like, we can't do it live in case this goes horribly. Then we'll never post it. But I was like, we can do it. So I might just not be on video for the rest of the week if this doesn't work.
Or a lot of explaining to do if it does work.
Totally.
All right. So, again, thank you. I think most people here probably are, you're also a celebrity. So most people know who you are, even though you were kind of invisible for a while. So Rachel Adams, thank you. And by the way, this isn't your social media class, but Karen told me that I need to have you do that for our agents. So
okay. Yeah, I definitely want to.
Okay, cool. All right. So I've known you for quite a while. And neither of us, nobody on this call has gone through something like this. You're one of those people that, for me, in my world, in my circle, you have a frenetic energy. Like you were always on the move. Always. And so when I imagine, I know what it's like for me to be trapped in the house, but when I imagine you, I'm like, oh my God, how is this woman coping? Yeah. Plus you have multiple businesses and lots of people spread out across the country, right?
And a 9-month-old almost.
And a 9-month-old. So kind of describe what your experience is like.
Yeah. So, just to give a teeny bit of background for people that don't know me, I've been in real estate 8 years. I started my business really old school, door knocking 200 doors a week, doing 3 open houses a week. Didn't close the deal my first 4 months. So you can imagine the grit and mindset you have to be able to make that happen. But it was able to sell 39 homes the first year and then 109 and then 123.
Well, technically you're like 39 in 8 months because you didn't.
Yeah. And it's funny too, my husband and I were actually just talking to a new agent about this. We were saying, because people are like, how does that work? How did you just stay in it? And I said that I always think of my first year in real estate, like with the analogy of like a toy car. And you pull the car, you start your career and you're doing the lead gen activities and you're like working no results. But what's happening is this little toy car, it's building tension. And then all of a sudden, boom, something happens. Your consistency, your time blocking, things work. And all of a sudden, like you let the car go and it's like, shoom. And so I feel like that's kind of what my career did. I did a lot of things the wrong way. I built a team the wrong way. It blew up. I didn't pay attention to profit loss, all that jazz. But within 3 years, I was able to hit top 1,000 agents in the country for Wall Street. And then 5 years have kept that going. So I'm still in production. I'm the lead listing agent on the team. There's 15 of us. 8 of those are full-time agents. And most of my business, to be totally honest, my lead gen looks very different than the average agent now. So I don't door knock and do open houses anymore. I had 123 referrals come from social media last year. Now my platforms are Instagram, Facebook,
123 that closed?
No, 123 referrals that came through. Yeah. We closed about, I think, 52 of those that came through. Because, they don't all pan out. Like a lot of times all the things, real estate. So yeah, I run, so my husband and I run 4 different 6-figure businesses, 3 of which are in real estate. One of them's a little side hustle. And, we believe, Gary Keller says the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. So we're really passionate about making sure that we have our bases covered. And I will tell you that with the pandemic and everything going on, when it first happened, for the first 2 weeks, we were kind of in la la land. We were drinking way too many cocktails. And we were just like, well, we have a vacation for 2 weeks. Okay. And then when we found out how serious it was, and there wasn't enough information to know. And the
weren't you out of town right at the beginning though too?
We were in Hawaii. Yeah, so we actually flew to Hawaii, and it was like you saw like maybe 2 or 3 people in masks, but that's normal. You know, some people just travel with masks. Yeah. And then by the time we came home, there was like maybe you'd see 10 people with masks, but then it was like, boom, it hit. So when we came home, we quarantined for 2 weeks because our doctor told us to. And then we were like, well, we're home anyway, so let's just party. So it was fun. And then I realized I needed to take care of my people, because I have, with the real estate team, we have, you know, the 15 people on the team. And then with the other company, we have about 6,000 people on that team. And so, you know, the first thing we did, I actually did a live about this on my page, but we actually, like, first thing we did is we cut expenses as much as we could. And then we looked at the entire real estate process, from the initial, conversation with the client to a buyer broker to scheduling showings, like every single part of the real estate transaction, and made it virtual. So we shifted the business so that we could do it virtual. And the biggest thing that we found is setting that expectation with your client ahead of time and finding out their comfort level. Mm-hmm. That's number one. Letting them know that if we are viewing homes, and it's, you know, because it changes every day if it's allowed, not allowed, right, vacant, and all that. Like I will provide you a mask and gloves, and we will need to have practice social distancing, and just giving them all the options of what it could look like. We did that, and we actually had every agent on our team. They're still reporting numbers 5 days a week. They're still doing open houses, albeit virtually. And they're making their database calls with a script that I created. And, you know, it's been really helpful, because they were kind of lost. Like, one of our agents said, I know that I can get an appointment, but I don't know what to do when I have one. So it was really important for me as the lead agent to empower them that not only have we got this, but we can thrive in this season. Because our community and our past clients, like, they're looking for reassurance. They want to know that we're okay, so they know that they're going to be okay, you know? Yep. Yeah. So yeah, we're working like 60-hour weeks right now. It's busy, busy, busy. And we're taking Bold. I have the whole team enrolled. I'm really excited for Bold Pivot. I'm excited for it. I've taken Bold 8 times.
I don't know what we're up to now, but I think
they were almost
over the weekend.
30,000.
I think we hit over 50 in our market center signed up. So
that's huge.
60, Ashley.
How many?
We're almost at 60.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to see how that's gonna be delivered.
Yeah. I know. Well, it's
I guess today at like right now, the materials are being published on the website, on the Facebook page. So make sure you download.
I'm excited about it, because it's like I've taken the OG Bold 8 times, and then Bold 2.0 came out, and I had just had Henry, so I was not ready for an 8-hour class. And like all the things happening. But now, like, what's fun is, you know, there's certain Bold coaches that you request to come to your market center. You get a taste of all of them. Like, I think it's really cool.
Yeah. It's not all of them. I think it's 9 of them.
Is it 9? Okay.
Yeah. But certainly I was looking at the list and I'm like, oh, it's some I haven't seen before. This would be fun.
You're right. I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go back a couple years. And for those of us, there's some people I think on here who aren't in California. But what year was that? Because I lose track. Was that 2016, 17?
It was it was the year that I met Ryan. It was 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
We had some pretty big fires up in Northern California.
Yeah. So September, my grandma was a real estate broker. My dad was a real estate broker for 42 years. I always said I would never, ever go into real estate. Famous last words. The Valley fires came, and I only was raised in one house. Like, my parents built that house, you know, custom built the house, and they were there 38 years. It was scary because the fires were in Lake County, where I'm from. And we were told that, I mean, it was so scary. Like, they didn't know how bad the fires were and how close they were. And then all of a sudden, like, there was this loudspeaker in our town, which was, I came from a really small town. Like, when the loudspeaker goes off on a little town of 700 people, when I grew up, there was 700 people. Now it's bigger. You hear it. And this alarm went off, and my dad looks out and sees fire and smoke, and they knew there were fires in Lake County, but they did not know how close they were, because there was like it was like a malfunction. They weren't told. They should have got a call and they didn't. So my parents literally, it wasn't like, oh, casually grab your stuff. They're racing to their cars, both of them in their cars, driving down the street, and the fire is literally chasing my dad's car. Wow. And then we had winds too. So like my parents were lucky to make it out. So no pictures, no belongings. Like you didn't have time to grab anything, everything. 38 years, 3 kids, all the memories just gone. So I went home to Lake County, and it was like, I couldn't even get into the county because it was chaos. It was so sad and so scary, and it was really hard. Yeah, I mean, now I can talk about it without crying, but my mom can't. And she still like because there's still fires. And so whenever my mom smells smoke, she's just like instant PTSD. She just shuts down, and it burned like 11 of my dad's listings. Like he retired after the fires. He was like, I can't,
Wow.
So it was tough.
So that is traumatic, obviously, more so for them because they were in it, but you want to take care of your parents, right? You want to protect them and plus all your stuff. I'm looking around my office right now going, oh, I've got lots of stuff from my growing up. To lose all of that and to go through that grieving process, because a lot of us are losing stuff right now. So what has been your process for going through that grieving process?
So the first thing I did, I mean, so I have 2 older siblings, but I'm kind of the stable one in the family, I would say. It's a really nice way of saying it. And also I'm glad my brother's not watching this. So my thing was just like, take care of my people. So the first thing I did, like they weren't physically capable of calling insurance. Like they couldn't function. So one of their friends took them in, whose house was out of harm's way. And, I went up there. I think I didn't go up there with Ryan. I didn't go up with Ryan. I went by myself. Yeah. Cause he stayed. And it was weird cause we were like dating, and I was like, I remember he was taking a shower, and I was like, hey, there's fires near mom and dad, and I don't really know what to do. He's like, okay, well, we'll figure this out. Like, it was a lot. We started dating in May and the fires happened in September. So it was a lot to put on the guy. And then my grandma, who I was super close with, passed away, which, you know how that goes. So like, yeah, poor guy. That was a rough start. And so first things first was like logistics. I was like, get in the mode of like taking care of my people. So just like right now, I was like profit and loss for that. It was insurance, Yeah. And then mindset. I was like, what can I do to empower them and support them and let them know like it's going to be okay. We are a family. So the first thing was just to say like, you're safe. Like, I know that we lost everything and you're going to have a lot of layers of trauma with this. But the most important thing is you're alive, like you're here. And so then one of my brothers came up as well, and I was like crazy. I just remember us like being in this room of like the house of the family that took him in, and we like sat on the ground like upstairs, and we just like held each other, and we were like, what just happened? Like, how did we lose our house? Yeah. And so then I helped my parents find a place to rent, and that was good. And they didn't have any furniture or anything, so like I just pulled everything together. They rented for a year. We ended up finding them a house, and it was so crazy because my dad's a real estate broker. He's done real estate for 42 years. The guy could not negotiate his termite. He couldn't. It
was trauma. I mean, truly.
Yeah. Well, and my my uncle also passed away in the fire, so like it was just rough. And so we find them a place, and I was like, we have to just keep, like I got this this sign made for them. I found this like woman who could make a custom sign, and I had like a picture painted of our old house. And my dad always had this, like, he always likes everything monogrammed. So like there was like a sign outside that said the Neffs. You walk inside, it says the Neffs. That's my maiden name. And so I got this sign made, and it said, home is where the heart is. And like, that has been like our family mantra ever since. And so I got that made for them. And then that is like where it's like in their new house now. And what was cool is like being able to use all my real estate contacts when they got their new house. We got the house. I was able to negotiate for dad and mom. And then like my stager donated all the furniture for their new house. Like
awesome.
Our painters, like all my vendors who I've built businesses and relationships with here, they took care of my parents. Like, so we were able to get them a new house, rehab it because it needed some work and stuff.
Well, and if your dad lost 11 listings, he's taking on the grief of that too for those people, right?
Yep.
But then the income loss.
Yeah.
I mean, for anybody who's holding 11 listings, at least you've got income there at some point. But then it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, and like some tough lessons too. He had some rental properties that unfortunately he didn't keep up insurance on, like paid off rental properties that it just like was a lapse in judgment, and you don't get paid for properties that you don't have insurance on, you know? And so it was a tough lesson. It was definitely challenging, and like we focus on what matters most, and family matters most, and loving your people and waking up every day. Like every day you wake up, you have a choice for how you're going to handle the day. And like with quarantine, most of my days have been pretty good. You know, I think we're this is our 8th week of this, or at least for us. Most of my weeks have good. I've had 3 really rough days to where like I'm just crying and I'm really sad and not functioning super well. And I think that's okay. I think that it's all okay. Like none of us have gone, like who would have thought we'd live through a pandemic, you know?
Never. One thing that just occurred to me, Linda Lee, one of our agents, texted me over the weekend, and she had looked up or found on Sandag, and I'll have her send out the link, but there she is, what our unemployment rate was prior to the pandemic and what it is now. And pretty much across the board in San Diego, we were under 3% unemployment, and now we're nipping on 30%, 26, 27%.
Yeah.
And so just looking forward, we have to be prepared that our communities are going to feel this in a different way that we can't see right now.
Yes, absolutely.
And we need to be ready for that also. And I just wanted to kind of bring that to everybody's attention.
Well, a lot of people are saying like, because there's 2 schools of thought, but a lot of people are saying, you know, I don't know what everyone's freaking out about. Oops, sorry, let me decline that call. Sorry about that. I don't know what everyone's freaking out about. Like we're like prices aren't going down. Everything's fine. And I was like, well, we're okay right now because appraisers are looking at what's happening. They look at back 6 months,
right?
But things are going to be shifting in the market. We're going to see it. We're not going to feel it yet, but it is going to shift. Like it's going to change things. And so people just have to be really intentional with like, you know, like making sure they lead generate and everything. Sorry about that. Making sure they lead generate. Like you might not be having listings flying off the shelf right now or getting a ton of, you know, buyer consultation appointments, but what you can be doing is continuing to love on your people, and offer value to them and just check in with them. Like we, on our team, I wrote a script for everybody, and it's really, really simple. And it's simply as whether it's your past client, or it's Joe Smith down the street who you've never spoken to. It's, you know, like, hey, this is Rachel. I'm your local realtor. You know, normally I'd be calling you and I'd talk to you about, you know, what's happening in the market and how many houses just sold, but that doesn't really feel appropriate right now. So I just wanted to kind of call and reaching out to my clients, my community, and asking, you know, is there anything I can help you with either personally or professionally? Like, how are you? And then you just let the conversation go. And it's just building that connection and letting people know that you want to be relational right now and not transactional. And that's powerful. Oops. Okay. There you are.
I got it. For sure. 100%. And interestingly enough, down here, we are seeing listings fly off the shelves, multiple offers still, depending on price point.
Yeah, we are too. It's just, not everyone's ready to list their house right now.
Right. Right.
And what I've asked when people, because in the beginning, no one was asking how we were. Like when we were doing our database calls, they weren't like, how are you? They were just like, this is how I am and I'm scared. But now what's happening is they're saying, well, how are you? How is the market? And so we make sure we know how many houses just went pending within the last, 30 days and the last week to be able to reassure them the market is moving. And I can tell you that if buyers are out there, they are serious buyers because they're willing to wear the masks, wear the gloves. They know interest rates are super low, so they're serious. And if you're looking at selling your house, well, gosh, you're likely going to get multiple offers for your property because there's no inventory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And I didn't prep you on this, and I thought, what the heck? You haven't talked about it in a while. And we have Nina on Wednesday. So
Oh, yay.
talk about your book and how that came about.
Yeah. So I wrote a book with Nina Heller. It's called Lost to Found in 90 Days, Your Journey to Self-Discovery and Ultimate Happiness. And it kind of came from it was an interesting place that happened from. So I told you guys that I got pretty quick success. I mean, I think 3 years to hit top 1,000 to me, that was fast.
That's okay.
Right. And at this point, I passionately love coaching. Sorry, I'm like allergy life. I passionately love coaching. And so I was telling my story and inspiring people and helping them build their business and work on social media. So I start traveling around the country with Keller Williams offices speaking. And I had my answers down, how I did my business. I always had everything down, but if someone says, how are you? How are you? I'm good. I'm good. And you go to that high pitched voice. My whole spiel was kind of a high pitched voice. And so, Keller Williams was going to do this interview called Young and Killing It. And it was me and Tim Heil and some other people. And they flew us out to Texas, and we were going to do this interview. And we went to, I didn't know who Nina was. And then I found out that I was being interviewed by Gary's fitness instructor. And I was like, all right, this seems weird, but whatever they feel is important. Okay. And I knew she was married to Chris, who was CEO at the time. And so I go there, and I'm busy in my career. I was about 32 pounds overweight. I was really, really focused on my business and my goals, and
ignoring all the others.
Everything else. Yeah. So when I went there, I had bought a really the tightest pair of Spanx I could find, got hair and makeup done, new dress. And I was like, let's do this interview. And I go and I sit down with Nina, and we're sitting. It was so funny. They interviewed us in the gym. I remember I was like, this is so bizarre, but and we're chatting in there, and she's asking me about my career. And I'm like, well, I did this and I did this and I did this. She goes, yeah. And how did that make you feel? I was like, feel? I was like, what do you, no, what? And then, she'd keep talking, and then she's like, and how did that make you feel? And I was like, what? You are messing up my flow. What the heck is going on? And she has the camera crew turn off the cameras, turn off the lights, and step outside. And I'm ghostly white. I have no idea what's going on. And she said, have you ever heard that your video is not matching your audio? And I thought, I've heard that quote. I've never heard it said to me. And she said, I don't know what's really going on. And it was so weird, because I felt like I had this wall up for 3 years, but I had, in the process of getting into real estate, I was married, and I was in a really challenging married with a, disabled veteran in the Marine Corps, and he was 80% disabled and 50% was PTSD. And so I'm this super positive, let's figure life out, and he was just not willing to help himself. And I was in support groups for wives and all these things. So I was going to real estate, super positive, motivated, willing to work hard, do whatever I needed to do that first year to get in myself in a better position, not only financially, but emotionally and spiritually and everything.
It was your escape.
It absolutely was. I worked, and I worked 7 a.m. till 10:30 at night. I had no boundaries. It was
your escape.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she said, what's really going on in that interview, I burst into tears, and I just told her that I was exhausted. And I was like, I tried to be everything to everyone. I have a divorce. I got divorced. I've never dealt with it. And I just kept moving and pushing and going and doing. And I was like, I'm so tired. And we end up having this amazing 2-hour conversation about what had happened, and then what life could really look like if I lived my life with 2 things. One was authenticity, really embracing what had happened and who I am going to become in the process. And then 2, intention. What could my life truly look like if I led it with intention? Intentional in my conversations and my choices, what I said yes to, what I said no to, what I put in my body. She did not interview me. She did not feel that was appropriate to interview me. I had makeup streaming down my face. I left the interview. I got on a plane and went to San Diego with one of my girlfriends, and turned 30. And bawled my eyes out for like 2 days. And then I had this moment where I was like actually brought to my knees on my living room floor. And I thought, I know I'm meant for more. I know I'm meant for more. And what does this look like? Because at this point I had built like a pretty decent social media following and everything, but I realized I wasn't honest with anyone because I wasn't really honest with myself. No one knew I had a divorce. Like he just like disappeared. And because I thought people would think I was like a failure, or they wouldn't want to sell houses with me if they knew I had been divorced. Like I just didn't know what I didn't know. And then I realized that the people who love me, they love me for me, and they'll support what's best for me. And anyone who knew me in that stage of my life knew that I did absolutely everything I could every day to try to make that marriage work. And eventually, it was actually one of my lender called me out. She also is the one who ended up serving him divorce papers. We're really close. But I came to her office one day and she had this like yardstick out. And she said, and I was there to like talk to her about real estate. And she said, hey, I want to talk to you about something really quick. And she goes, imagine this yardstick is your life and you're going to live to be 100. I'm like, okay. She goes, a third of your life is gone. I was like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, what are we talking about? And she said, you have 2/3 left. Like, what do you want your life to look like? And who do you want to be? And I knew I could never be the person I needed to be if I stayed in that marriage.
You had two really strong women change your life with 2 conversations.
I know.
That I was thinking Susan Scott says no conversation is guaranteed to change the trajectory of a business or life, but any single conversation can.
Yes. Well, and God bless her for being strong enough to be willing to have that conversation with me, because she could have just done that interview. She absolutely could have done that.
Well, if anybody knows Nina, no, she couldn't. That
right.
showed up exactly the way she is.
Yeah. And so I ended up deciding that I'm a goal-oriented person. So I was like, for 90 days, I'm going to take out my 2 biggest distractions, and I'm going to focus on me and becoming the best version of myself and see what happens. And so I started journaling, and I started digging into personal growth, and I started exercising and being mindful of what I ate, mindful of what I read, mindful of the conversations I had, mindful of my schedule, and my whole life shift. I mean, it was the moment that changed the trajectory for the rest of my life. And I end up, go back at Keller Williams. I forget, it was like Mega Camp or something. And I'm walking down the hall and I'm like 25 pounds lighter, my skin's glowing. And I run into Nina, and she's like, oh my gosh, you look amazing. And she's like, how are you? And I was like, I'm good. I'm really good. And I said, like, that conversation changed everything for me. And she said, because she's coached all these, she's coached like Matthew McConaughey and like founders of Microsoft. Like, she's coached all these big name people. And she said she always has the knowledge, but she's never had the story. And she said, what if you come to Encinitas and we sit down and we just talk? And so I went there, and we were going to make an ebook, just like a short little ebook, but I don't know how to do anything on a small scale. So the ebook turned into a book, which turned into a whole coaching program and t-shirts and an app and all these things. And it was, it was powerful. And so that book,
just go ahead and plug it. What's it called?
It's called Lost to Found in 90 Days. Yeah. Your journey to self-discovery and ultimate happiness.
I'm typing it in the box there.
Cool. Yeah, it's available on Amazon. And so then it was amazing too, because then we were able to coach people that were either stuck emotionally, mentally, physically through this dark space they were in, to find lightness, to find joy, and to find like their purpose. And it was a really beautiful gift.
I'm curious, what year was that?
Let's see, that was right before I met Ryan. So 2015, the end of 2015, we published.
Oh, there's a lot that went on. I mean, because the fires hit right after that.
I know.
And thank goodness you had done some of that work.
I know. Yeah. I mean, everything rises or falls on mindset, honestly, everything, your marriage, your relationship with your kids, like all the things that matter, your business, like it's all mindset. Like if you think you can, or you think you can't, you're absolutely right. Like I know that I've always wanted to be a mom, like always, always, always. And we had some challenges getting pregnant with Henry, and some things happened. And it was so hard. And like I always was worried that if I was working, I'd feel like I should be with my baby. And if I was with my baby, I'd feel like I should be working. And the biggest thing that I've learned, especially in this season with quarantine, where I'm still having to work and I have my family here, it's like, be present with what you're doing. Be 100% present where you're at. So if I'm working so that I can feed my family. And and then when I'm with my family, I'm not with my family and kind of on my phone. I'm like making a choice because they deserve more than that. And so
that's interesting, because I don't think it's always been that way for you. How did you develop that discipline? Because we're, I think, all experiencing that, right? You've got everything going on. How do you not say, well, I just got a text. How do you have the discipline?
So to be honest, like the biggest reason is I respect my husband. That's my biggest reason. When I heard, like, I married, I always was like the sensitive one in my relationships, but I married a very sensitive man. He's a strong man and he's very sensitive. And I don't like to hurt his feelings or disrespect him. And so when we first met, he had never, I'm very different than anyone he's ever dated. I remember his family, like his sister was in Kansas, and I feel like I tell you so much more than I tell other people, and I kind of forget that we're like live on Facebook. I know, it's sneaky. You guys are learning so many things. His sister was in Kansas, and she only saw me through social media, and she was like, "Who is this chick? Like, what are you doing?" And I told him that I run a lot of my businesses through social media, so I need to be on my phone a lot. And he said, "Okay, what does that look like for you?" Because that's a very open statement. I need to be on my phone a lot. And he just said, as long as we can establish some healthy boundaries, he's like, because everyone I dated previously was like, oh, I want a strong, independent woman. And then they'd meet me and they were like, oh, well, that's
maybe not that strong.
A little bit much, because I could hold myself, I could handle myself financially, and I traveled, and I was like, I'm a pretty confident person. And so Ryan just said, like, if we can set up some boundaries around this, let's figure out not only how to have a big business, but how can we make your business even bigger? How can we make it even better? How can we give like the best life to ourselves? Like, what does that look like? Because he was a mechanical engineer for 17 years, still is. And
that's an interesting, I didn't know that. And that's interesting. I can feel the sensitivity on him. I mean, he is just a warm soul. That doesn't always go with mechanical engineer. Like,
he's in sales. So he was like, he's like an oxymoron. Cause like when I would go to conventions, like, or like meet his other engineer friends, they're very different than Ryan. They're engineers, like typical engineers, but he's like a sales engineer. So he likes to be around people. He loves inclusivity. He's like a people person.
And he was the only dude except for Henry at the Lady Leaders.
Yeah, I know. He's like the honorary always.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and so it really was, what we did is we actually looked at the day. We looked at the week as a whole, but basically the things that matter is making sure that we have meals together and we go on a family walk. And is
this all the time or just COVID time?
This is COVID, but I like what it's done for our family. So it's a lot of the things that are happening now, which I've been talking about this with a few different people. The stuff we're doing now, we are never going to go back to business as usual. It's going to shift because people are seeing business can be done virtually, and they're seeing the creativity and the goodness that's happening in their home from this. And that's a beautiful thing. At the same time, like my heart hurts for the people that this is the worst situation they're going through. And like, if there's abuse in their home or, like I've seen messages going out from people that are saying like, it's like, I saw one that literally said like, I'm going to post on my wall. If you are being abused in your home, I'm going to send you a message and ask if you need nail polish. And if you say yes, I'm going to call someone for you. Like that, the fact that we need to do that right now, like it's crazy.
It is crazy. And it is happening a lot.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, so what we're doing right now is we're really, we have a schedule, a start time and a stop time to the day for work. We have meals together.
I'm going to ask you to get specific because I talked to Karen a couple days ago, Prawl.
Yeah.
And I had done a call for her last week, and I was really specific about when you should start your day and when you should end it, and that, 16-hour days aren't really productive. And
No.
I come to find out that's how she's living right now. So
Yep.
I think we need to say it over and over again that, we need to have those bookends and a reasonable time limit to the amount of time we're putting into the business. So with that, please be specific.
Sure. So our baby, we obviously having a baby, it shifts a little bit of things.
You're not in total control.
Right. Which is not as fun as I'd like. So he wakes up at 8. So for us, it's waking up at 7:30. So we can do a little bit of mindset work, some like workout stuff, right? So little journaling or gratitude. So that, and we do that at our kitchen table. So we're up at 7:30. The baby's up at 8. And then so then his first bottle happens at like 8. And then solids happen at 8:30. So when he's eating, we were reading all the books, and they say that you should try to eat at the same time. So like within reason. So then Henry's being fed solids. I'm making breakfast, or Ryan's making breakfast because I've taught him how to make eggs now. The kid came in with like no knowledge in the kitchen. He's like, well, cereal's dinner. I'm like, oh my gosh. So we have a meal together, and then with an exception, like right now, once we quarantined, we have our nanny back 3 days a week, 8 to 1, which is amazingly helpful. Cause when she wasn't here, it was like, oh goodness. Yeah. And so like right now I'm doing this call with you. Normally on Mondays we have a team call. So at 9 a.m. our whole team gets on a call. Everybody says something great that's happening for their week. Like the best thing that happened over the week. And then they set their goal for the upcoming week. And then our admin's on the line. And so, and any announcements that we have, obviously I'm doing this with you. So Ryan is handling it with our, Ryan's handling it with our lead buyer's agent. So by 9:30 I'm working. And then, I mean, obviously there's nap times and different things for Henry, but basically I'm working at 9:30. Then by noon I'm taking a break, and we do a half hour for lunch, and then we go on a family walk. And this is all around Henry's nap time. And then when we come back from the walk, I'm working. And then my work time, and then I'll usually like 1 or 2 times like stop something, just go out and like fill my love tank and snuggle on the baby and Ryan, and then come back. And the agreement is that I'll stop working by 6. And then I can check my phone like twice in the evening. And I know that sounds silly, like I can do it, but I will be on my phone all the time if I'm by myself, because we're in sales, and especially having the different companies that I do, there's always someone who needs me. But the one thing that I talk to myself about, and I tell my people, it's just real estate and it's just shampoo. Cause our other companies, the hair company, like no one is dying. If someone needs to find out, like take a hair quiz later, that's okay. Like literally I'm telling my people this, like it's just shampoo. It's okay. It's just selling houses. We're actually not saving lives. And Nina actually gave me this amazing analogy that I loved. She was like, and we actually, like when I coach new agents, I talk to them about this, but like you have to stay on your island. Like you have to stay on your island. Your island as the real estate professional is the calm island, the educated island, the island that knows what's going to happen, that sets the expectations, right? The other island is where your client's living. And on that island, things are falling apart. The coconuts are falling in the water. It's like, what is happening? Appraisal? Like everything's just like, cause they're and they freak out. And so you can never get on their island. You have to stay on your island. And if they're freaking out and they're like, I'm drowning, you can throw them a life vest, but you don't go out there and get them. You never join them. So you always have to stay on your side. And so I just think about that all the time when people are freaking out. Like it is very rare that I can get rocked in a transaction now, because I've been doing it for a while and I know what emergencies are in real life. Like your family's house burning down, that's an emergency. An appraisal not happening, you can reschedule it, Yeah. So it's perspective too.
Awesome. And so how often do you break that boundary of just checking your phone twice a night?
All the time. And I get in trouble all the time.
What does get in trouble look like?
He will usually say something, 'cause he's so sweet. Because, okay, so physical touch is seriously, we're saying so many things. I feel like I'm talking to you and I'm forgetting I have all these people here. So physical touch is my number one love language. So if I'm going to need a talking to, if I've done something to like where he feels disrespected, I need him to like hold my hands and like talk to me about it. If he just tells me something, I'm like defensive. So he'll come over and he'll say, is what you're working on right now important? And I'm like, man, because it's never important. It's not. Yeah. So it's something that, I mean, I can tell you what's ideal, and I can tell you that every person who tells you they haven't mastered is full of it. We're all a work in progress.
Exactly. Just get better every day. And I love what you said. You don't want to hurt him. I mean, it's not, you're doing it for him. You're having that boundary for him. Yeah. And I think a lot of times, because I can't tell who this was. I think maybe it was Mike Law, although it doesn't say Mike Law's name in the chat box, said, thank you for talking about this, because he's got a young family too. And most of us who get into real estate are fairly driven. Like if we were allowed to work 16-hour days, we would. Right. And yet we're not always in the moment aware that we're actually telling other people to screw off.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's essentially the message. You're not important enough. Yeah. And so working on that boundary, what a great time to do it.
And I think like I feel so much better, even a little thing. And I would encourage you guys to try this. When you go have dinner or your next meal with your family, don't just have your phone like at 10 feet away flipped over so you can't see it. Have it in an entirely different room. Like I left my phone in the office when I went and had breakfast with my family yesterday, and the freedom I felt and the lightness I felt versus my phone being 10 feet away on its flipped over, it's powerful. And the problem is, because I'm absolutely 100% addicted to my cell phone. And most of us are addicted. When Ryan first sent me a link that was about like cell phone addiction, I was defensive.
Anderson Cooper, CNN, you should all go watch that. Look it up on YouTube. It talks about how this is actually addicting.
Yeah, well, it is. And I like, especially being in social media, I am very intentional about my social media time, because if I'm not like intentionally on there, I don't need to be on there. Because just like mindlessly scrolling, you can lose hours and hours.
Well, can you imagine that you have to have your phone tell you how much screen time you've had?
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
So that there's something that makes us aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is an addiction. I remember when I first read it, I was like kind of walls up. I was like, oh gosh. And then I read it and I'm like, oh wow, I have a problem. and I think most of us do, to be honest. Yeah. And it's when we're in sales, you feel like you need to respond. You need to be there. You're reactive to your phone. So we always talk about being proactive with our phone, setting expectations with your clients, your customers, like, you know, what with your agents even. Like I have boundaries.
Well,
our
and
agents.
The thing is, this is the thing when I was coaching, I would tell people all the time, if you set an expectation and a boundary, if you actually verbally do it, people will respect it. It's the fact that we don't set them, and then we get upset because they didn't respect the expectation we had, but we never set the expectation. So
exactly,
as long as you set the expectation, the vast majority of people will honor it.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. So what's been the hardest thing for you being quarantined?
Honestly, physical touch is my number one love language. I miss hugging people. I miss like the physical connection with others. Like it says it like on my bio, like I start with a handshake and I end with a hug. Like I am a hugger. So I think that has been really challenging.
I'll tell you, we had a staff lunch on Friday. I needed to see and feel my people. So we got together and all had social distance, and it was awesome to really see everybody. And as I drove away, I cried because I was so upset that I couldn't actually hug them. Yeah. It's so hard. I know. And Mark Willis was on here a few weeks ago, and he said, we're probably going into a world where we won't shake hands, we won't hug anymore. And I'm going to call BS on that. No.
Yeah, I will hug you.
Yes. Yep. Coming in.
Yeah.
All right. So what's next for you, young lady?
Well, a couple things. I am currently in the process of when I was pregnant, I pre-recorded 23 YouTube videos. And my lead generation, like I said, it looks a little bit different. My belief is that I will, if I continue to just pour into our industry and give back, business comes. So that's always been how I prefer to add value, and then people work with people they like, right? So I pre-recorded a bunch of videos. So my, I'm time blocked this week to not edit. I don't do editing. Write the descriptions. You guys don't want me editing. I write the descriptions and the subject titles. There's so much with algorithms with YouTube. Oh my gosh. And it's always changing with everything. And so researching titles and stuff. So I'm going to be getting my videos ready. And then basically every other week, I'm going to be distributing a coaching video. And then I'm also going to be launching a podcast, and I'm really, really, really excited about it. Awesome. Yeah, I was talking to Ben Kenny, and he was like, why don't you have a podcast? And I was like, I just don't have time for another thing. And he said, Rachel, think about how much content you have on your YouTube channel. You can literally put an intro and an outro on it, export the audio, and you have a podcast. He's like, how do you think I'm doing mine? And I was like, I'm going to start a podcast.
And Joe Acosta just asked, what is your channel name? YouTube.
Yes. Thank you for asking, Jeff. So if you go to YouTube/Rachel Adams Lee and hit the subscribe button, then you'll be notified of all the videos I make. And I have you guys, I have hundreds and hundreds of hours of free coaching on there, like expireds and FISBOs and door knocking and open houses and objection handlers and I mean, my gosh, anything. And then also I'm always building content. So if you have a specific thing you're going through in your business, or you want to know what time blocking looks like for a family, or like whatever that is, we can, I'll make a video for you. So that's how I build my content, is by what agents need. So if there's something you need specifically, then that's what I'll do. And I have some other stuff. At the end of the year, we're going to have some new coaching we're going to release, which I'm like so excited about. One of the things that Ryan and I are building right now is actually relationship and real estate. So how do you have a big business, but an even better relationship? So that is I'm so excited about that, because everyone's always asking, and I did it the wrong way before. So when Ryan and I met, we were like, how can we make this real estate business so big and so successful, but stay crystal clear on what matters most?
Well, and you both are operating in all your businesses together on some level, right?
Yeah.
And I know as a coach, the most challenging and most rewarding situations that I've had is coaching romantic partners, married couples or partners who are also in business together. It wasn't
dynamic. Easy. Yeah, it wasn't easy. I'm a very strong personality, and they were my companies. So when I met Ryan, he saw things that I didn't see. So I was like, we should totally do business together. And then any idea he had, I would knock him down. And I was like, thank you for your opinion. But right.
Oh,
so I
cute.
just and it was so unfair. And he was like, look, you either want me here or you don't. And I was like, oh man. So we actually got marriage coaching. We went to, we believe in it wholeheartedly. And we got marriage coaching. First, we talked to my MAPS coach, and that was helpful. But we needed more. So we went and got marriage coaching, and she literally had us talk about our strengths and our weaknesses and told us to stay the hell out of each other's sandbox. Give him his space and let him run with it and respect it. And I was like, oh, dang. I was like, okay. But then it made it, that was the shift for us. Then everything worked better. And it doesn't mean we still don't have moments where we, butt heads, but we're married and we respect each other enough to work through it.
Awesome. So one thing that just struck me, I have not asked everybody who I've had on here where they are. Well, if you're in production, it's kind of important. So where are you?
I'm in Northern California. So think Sacramento. I live in El Dorado Hills. My office is in Roseville, but I'm Sacramento area, Northern California.
Okay. So I'm saying that in case there's referrals that need to go up there. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. And what can we do for you?
Oh my gosh. Just love your people. And grant yourself grace in this season. This is such a weird time that you're in. So if you have 3 out of 5 really good productive work days, you're killing it. That's okay. If you need to not be on a Zoom, don't be on the Zoom. I would encourage you not to do more than one a day, honestly, if you can, for if you're an agent who's taking it for educational purposes, because it's overwhelming and you're going to get Zoom burnout.
You can't implement it, right?
No.
If you're on, I've talked to some people who are on educational ones 6 hours a day. There's no way you can implement.
No.
So be selective. And if you're doing bolt pivot, that's probably enough now for the next month.
That's going to be my education for this whole, and we're in it twice a week too. So it's like, okay, you know, and I mean, I'm really excited about it, and I'm going to have it work into my life, you know?
Yeah.
Same thing when we had the baby. I was like, I mean, Henry's been on 16 flights by the time he was 5 months old. We were like, because Ryan and I traveled about 60% of the year.
You should write a book on flying with a baby.
I'm actually going to do, I'm going to do an Instagram highlight, because we have we have it down to a science for how you travel, what you bring, what you don't bring, how you have it in the room, how you have white noise, like all the things. So I'm going to do an Instagram highlight about all my favorite products and like how we travel with the baby.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So just love your people. And if I can ever do anything for you, whether it's, you know, referral, taking care of your client, or you want a coaching video.
You and I are definitely going to touch base on doing the social media class via Zoom.
Yes.
And once we're unleashed on the world, you can come down here.
Yay. That'll be so fun. I would love it. Awesome.
Do we have any questions that people want to post in there? And sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I just love that you pour into your people. Like, I know not all team leaders are handling things the same way, and I'm just so
remember,
proud
I'm an OP now, and I would actually say team leaders have it way harder than OPs, because they're on the front lines, and we're a little bit in the back. And I thought, you know, we've been through some challenging times before, and what got me through was all my friends, all the leaders and friends that I've been blessed with. So just doing as much as I can to share that and the wisdom.
Well, still, I mean, you're an engaged OP, and I think that's beautiful.
Well, we've got some really incredible people.
I know. Your market center is so fun. I get private messages from your market center all the time, and they're just like, you have good people there. You have really good people.
And we do have a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a little too much sometimes. No questions though. Wow.
They're like, have her talk about social media. We'll do that soon.
Okay. All right. All right, hon.
Thanks for having me.
Give your boys a big hug. And yes, Val, you're welcome. You are an honorary member. Absolutely. Come down anytime after this. By the way, we're dog friendly. You can bring all the kids.
Yay. All right. Love you guys.
By the way, is the hugs and everybody's dogs.
I'm sure. I know.
All right.
All right.
Love
bye.
You.
Love you too.
Bye.